Hi there, welcome to the Keyforce Premier League Week 7. We are in the final weeks of the group stages, and today we're bringing you a game from the Eastern Group. A bit of a new territory for us. Who have we got playing today, Callum?
So we have AlexShepelev from Team SAS LP versus Gorebelly from United Archons Prime, located in the Russia and the Philippines, respectively.
Indeed, yeah. We thought we'd try and we've been covering the central teams a lot. We thought we'd try and expand our horizons, look east, and see what's happening in that group.
Yeah, it's a bunch of great Keyforge and great Keyforge players that we are sadly mostly prevented from seeing by time differences.
Yeah, but in this case, with Shepelev being from Russia, it made times a bit easier, and we managed to get this one. And he's also been undefeated thus far with
Yeah,
these three
sitting
decks.
sitting pretty at the top of Group H with 5 out of 5. Has dropped the odd game here and there, but is won every match overall.
He has indeed. And
Gorebelly has a shot of making it to the playoffs, but almost certainly needs a win here today.
yeah, and it would be quite the upset, I'd say. You know, when you are going against someone who's unbeaten, it's got to be kind of thinking that it's unlikely. But if he can get it, he'll really blow this group wide open.
Does give you that scrappy underdog feel
It
for going
definitely
up against
does.
the leader. So let's start off with Shepelev. First deck we have is Donovan of Tread Haunt.
Indeed, we
Uh,
do.
and the first thing that obviously draws the eye is the 4 routine jobs.
Yeah, there's a lot. That's a lot of routine jobs.
So that's just like 10 full Ember Steel in the
Yeah,
deck, straight off the bat.
yeah. Yeah, so it's play one, play steal one, then steal one for each copy of routine job in your discard pile. Normally you'd only see two, which is pretty good regardless,
Yeah.
but when you have four, it just becomes super gross.
Yeah, and this is your sort of classic Coda Dislogo Shadows, board of 31, basically no board presence, but will just steal and steal and steal. And you have Ember control in all 3 houses, right?
You do, yeah. I think that's the big thing that you always like seeing decks like this where no matter which house you choose, you can knock someone off like a 6 or 7 Ember. So you've got kind of a Dis, you've got a Shackles, a Shula, a Pit Demon in a pinch to do that. Logos, you've got the big one with the effervescent principle, and Shadows we've obviously seen just steal for days, 4 recent jobs, Relentless Whisper, Skeleton Key, the list goes
Like,
on.
oh, you're on 7 Ember. Guess I'll play routine job, 2 routine jobs, and steal all of it.
Yeah.
Just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then the logos, you've got moderate speed for logos. I've seen faster AOA logos, but you've still got like a library access with a phase shift, Mother, Doc Bookton, Wild Wormhole.
Yeah, Neutron Shark as well for a bit of board clear too. But yeah, it's just I mean it's strong across the board sort of thing. This is the thing with Coda decks nowadays. You tend to just see the kind of cream of the crop. Really, you tend to see the decks that have a lot of strong cards. It's also noting that this is kind of very early Coda, as you can see by the shadows. Only Bad Penny and Shadow Self, only 2 creatures. Not something that thinks something was rectified quite soon after release.
It's partly because it's very good. It's partly because just numerically people have more Coda, so they have more access to the higher level decks.
Exactly, indeed.
So moving on to Brooklyn Fuse Tadan.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a Worlds Collide deck. Dis Shadows again, sensing a theme. And here we have more Ember control than Ember generation, which is usually where you would start. So 21 to 20, and you look at the Ember control, and it is grim. So you have 2 Ronnies, 2 Infernuses, and basically a huge number of ways to recycle those, right? So you've got the double Exhume to
Yep.
bring them both back. You've got a hit and run to pick one of them up. You've got a Kymor Eclipse to shuffle it back in.
Yeah, you've also got some great options like, say, a Brenda Fanatic to be hit with a Gleeful Mayhem. I mean, if you've already got a Brenda Fanatic down, you could definitely set up a gross turn where you hit one Gleeful Mayhem, exhume the Brenda Fanatic, hit another Gleeful Mayhem, and you just knock someone like from check down to 1, potentially, which
Yeah,
no one's going to be happy about.
Double Trust No One is obviously pretty great as well.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a Garcia and a Garcia's Blaster. You've got some capture with Frayne and a Skeleton Key. It's just never-ending Ember control.
Yeah, especially a Trust No One in a deck that with only 30 effective board, you can see quite a few scenarios in which you're not going to have much on the board at all. And it's quite good at playing without much on the board. You know, you've got stuff like a Red Alert, which can really benefit from that too.
Yeah, the removal is really good because you've got the 2 Gleeful Mayhems. You've got a Key to Dis for a full wipe, and then a Red Alert to sort of turn your lack of board presence into an advantage.
Yeah, also just some useful cards in a Poltergeist always happy to see it, just to kind of get rid of those problematic artifacts or use them in cases as well. Um, Big problem here, I'd say, is a lack of speed. You've got,
Yeah.
yeah, I think your only speed, as far as I can tell, would be the Helms and Spears. Oh, and it come off the Kirby too, I suppose. The thing with it is like Helms and Spears is a really big draw effect, and Helms and Spears doesn't tend to live very long.
Does tend to die pretty frequently.
Yeah, like even if you can get that encounter suit and or that force field or that like the archons on it, like you kind of have to have drawn enough cards to get those, which you need Helms and Spears to have done. So it's if you can get both, great. I just think like you're gonna be it's gonna be difficult to do that. So I think this deck is gonna be very much a play the card you're dealt kind of situation.
Yeah, but given it has a lot of very good cards, that should get you through a lot of the time.
It definitely should, yeah.
So for the third deck, we move back into Dis Logos Shadows.
Definitely has a type, does Alex?
I think so. Yes, I mean it's very good, obviously. So no questions. No
No
questions
judgment
here.
at all.
No, it's a high level decks do it very well. And this is your sort of classic miserable mass mutations. You've got first off the bat the Eaton's Jar, just straight up ban most things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you got both wolves of misery. You know, for you, you've got the Infernuses, the kind of Imp Spectres that you're really not a fan of the Stirring Graves to recur them. For me,
Yeah,
you've got the Borrows that I'm just like, ugh, the tempting offers, the
it's
stuff like
like, oh,
that. That's just like, oh,
you wanted
okay.
to have artifacts? Well, I'm afraid they're mine now.
Yeah, and oh, you wanted to have Saurians on the board, well, they're back in your hand, and all that Ember's mine now. I'm like, no, but it needed the stuff. And also, the Mind Over Matter is a great card for kind of responding to that too. Might not have seen it very often. It is a rare. Put each creature into its owner's archives. Not only does that screw over most of the kind of decks that I play that are very capture-y, kind of Saurian focused stuff, but also if you've got, say, Infernuses or Bone Nithings, very
Mm-hmm.
good cards
Mm-hmm.
to have put back in the
Yeah,
archive for you.
real nice to be able to just play those again.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so you're just going to steal a lot. And I think the consistency of this deck is the thing. You have a lot of doubles, so you're just going to be able to pretty consistently do the things you expect it to do.
Exactly, yeah. It's kind of like a running theme across these decks. It's not the fastest decks you'll see. Like, again, you've kind of got Eclectic Inquiry and a Logica for a bit of speed, Neurosiphon, circumstantially in a Quixo, but it's again not the fastest deck you'll ever see. It's not going to be like pulling through the cards, but with like the amount of disruption that this deck has, I don't think you're going to particularly care, really.
Yeah, I think you'd have like just enough speed and efficiency to keep it going
Hmm.
without it being a problem. But
Yeah,
it's mostly not about that. You're just sort of playing 2 or 3 incredibly high value cards per turn
indeed.
and causing a lot of problems.
Okay, well, let's have a look at the underdog of the ties decks and see how we think they're going to face up.
All right, so over to Gorebelly in the Philippines, starting with Maven Ultra Ridge Ochoa.
Hmm.
And this is just some good all-round mass mutation. So
I,
if we
I
start
would go far as this is great all-round mass mutation. Again, this
yeah,
might be my
this is
personal biases. This is very much my sort of thing is fast things that put a lot of creatures on the board. But
I
yeah,
think our perspective has become warped towards it is in week 7 of KFPL commentary.
we've
We've
looked at
lost
too
all
many great
perspective.
decks.
Like
Yeah,
all of these decks are incredibly good.
yeah.
Um, but
Oh
here
yeah,
we have
it's just not very
all
fast,
right.
even though it's got all the best cards of the game. I don't know. It's not a great game.
So here we have like the Dav in Untamed with 12 mutants, which is a
Yep,
whole bunch.
yep.
Out of
2/3 of the
18
creatures there are mutants.
almost all the I think no, all of the Untamed creatures are mutants.
They are indeed. Yeah.
And if you look at the enhancements on the deck, a good chunk of them have draw icons on as
I'll
well.
get those up now. See.
It's like both
Yeah,
Gloriana's Attendants, the Dark Fairy has a draw and an Ember,
yeah.
and you have 2 Resurgences as well.
You do, and you also have that Vault's Blessing as well. So if you can get Dark Ember Vault out early, you can potentially be setting up a insane opening turn where you just kind of like play a whole bunch of mutants with draw icons, draw a bunch of cards, get like potentially all 7 mutants on the board. I don't think that's like out of the realms of possibility at all for this deck. And then play a Vault's Blessing and get 8 Ember for it.
Yeah, just because so much like the Untamed outdraws the logos. It's really strange.
That is strange, yeah. But yeah, looking at the Untamed though, the Untamed like kind of doing the weird thing that Mass Mutation and logos rather, doing the weird thing that Mass Mutation logos can sometimes do, which is kind of be the control house. You know, you've got Entropic Swirl, you've got Bouncing Death Quark, you've got Kazap, which is great in this deck with that many mutants. You know, you're going to be able to like lay the smackdown with this deck quite easily from that Logos
Yeah.
house.
And a couple of other very useful tricks as well. And you've got Mutagenic Serum in a deck with 12 mutants, and the Dav got a Professor Tarato with a deck with 12 mutants in the Dav.
Yeah, I think against another mass mutation deck, this kind of has like it's a bit more of a balance. But against a non-mass mutation deck, this deck can do some truly insane things with that mutant synergy.
So that's going to go real fast, and then your Saurian is all about Ember control, basically, because you've got a CSI, the full Miami potentially with the Axiom,
Love to see it.
a Spoils of Battle, which if you follow the CSI with the Spoils is extra ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
And then
also got a Forum of Giants as well, which is not a card you see all that often. I'm going to just mouse over that. At the start of your turn, the player controls the most powerful creature gains 1. I think in this deck may not be super great. You've not got those like big dinosaur beasts you sometimes see, like your Galeotopses, your Pterodactyls, your Gargantodons, that can really benefit from a Forum of Giants. But in these matchups where kind of like Alex's decks across the board are quite small creatures, could be a real benefit here.
Yeah, I mean, the average board power of Shepelev's decks is 30.3 across 3 decks.
Yeah,
So
might be all right here then.
Yeah, you might manage that one, I think.
Yeah,
Just get yourself an Ember every turn.
exactly. But I think against like maybe someone playing a more board focused Saurian deck, that you would kind of be considering discarding a Forum of Giants rather than playing it.
Yeah, but still pretty handy because importantly, it goes off before the key forging step.
It does indeed.
So yeah, you're going to go fast with Logos and Untamed. You're going to draw a bunch of those houses, and your Saurian is going to provide all of your Ember control.
Yeah, obviously you've got kind of like the action you just mentioned, but also just within the creatures too. You know, Citizen Tricks, Double Cornus, and Octavia, along with Effectus Ludo. So kind of really protects your creatures, but also means that your opponent can't really use board wipes, and you're kind of wiping the board in your own terms. Often doing kind of non-symmetrical board wipes as well, because if you've managed to Miami someone, then you're keeping your creatures. Kazap, a lot of the time, you're keeping your creatures there too.
Just looks very good, this deck.
Definitely does.
So moving on to Rawlinson, the leader of Chesterpines.
Yeah, and this is where our narrative of, you know, Gorebelly being the beloved underdog falls apart, because he is playing a Quixelstone deck, and therefore I don't know if I can support him anymore, Callum.
No judgment. He is allowed to do that just because we personally hate it.
Yeah, he spent so long wondering whether he could. He never thought whether he should.
So this is a Quixelstone deck, which means it will lock down the number of creatures you can play, and will basically try and, if you play the Quixelstone, try and function with only a couple of creatures out. So like maybe a Kirby for some efficiency, maybe one of the big Saurians, maybe an Edile, some Logos creatures, like 1 or 2 or 3 at a time.
Yeah.
So that prevents your opponent from doing too many.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting deck, though, in that it has a Quixelstone, but I don't think it necessarily needs to play it to be successful. Like, you look at the Logos and the Saurian, and those are just great houses, like, and have a fair few creatures you want to get on the board. You've got your Ediles, Daughters, Babbling Bibliophiles, good creatures to have on the board, and some solid actions to go with them. And the Saurians especially, like, tributes with, like, some, like, Calipigian Ideal is a great combo, really powerful, and that board control.
Pterodactyl as well to stack it all up on.
Yeah.
Potentially, you could try and stack up some Tribute Ember on a Frane, and then hit that with the Frane's Blaster. That could be real nice if you can pull that off.
Especially if you've managed to get a Cloaking Dongler Light of the Archons on first, which with the speed of this deck, I wouldn't say is out of the realms of possibility. You could set up Quixelstone, make that really hard to remove, and then and Commoffs the Kirby's as well means that Tribute out of house.
Yeah, that's how you might probably do it.
Isn't difficult. Even just like, even if you don't have the Blaster, Calipigian Ideal out of house with a Kirby.
Yeah, and on the Frane as well, yeah.
You know, there's a lot of ways. This is what I mean though, like, even though it has a Quixelstone, there's a lot of like abilities that you can kind of have used by having a relatively expansive board here, especially in that Star Alliance. So it depends on the deck you're playing against, but I think like against other decks that are less creature focused, you definitely might see this deck just forego the Quixelstone and be a creature deck, which makes me happy.
Yeah, and then the logos, you've got like a lot of things that connect to draw somehow. You've got double E dice, you've got a bibliophile, you've got a daughter.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
couple more examples.
I think I don't know. It feels odd saying this, Callum, but I might like this deck, even though it has a Quixel Stone. And I don't know how to feel about that.
Ooh, this is.
Hmm.
Oh dear. Oh
Yeah.
dear. Oh dear. You've changed, man.
I've changed. Yeah.
It's fine. You can play it without stone. It's okay.
Yeah. Can.
So finally, we have Gudrun Zenith L'Adorabile,
Mm-hmm.
or Gudrun Zenith the Adorable.
Oh, it's pretty adorable.
I think it will be until you actually play it, because 4 cutthroat research is real entertaining.
Yeah, it's fun.
And they're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then you actually play it and find that it's incredibly annoying, because you also have 3 running risk locks, and you'll be taken off check at 6 a lot, so you go to 8.
I've also just noticed that its effective power is 8.
No. It is. Yep, it is literally 8. I've never seen a lower
11 creatures, which I didn't know was a thing in a way, but apparently is, and you can have a board of 8.
That is quite entertaining. So this is a sort of competitive
It
archetype.
is adorable. It's so small.
Where it's like basically lots of removal, lots of ember pips, and then big stealing. So you've got 17 pips, you've got 4 cutthroat research and 3 Ronnies.
Yeah, and it's 17 pips in the deck that doesn't have any double pip cards either, which makes it more impressive. Like almost half the cards in this deck have a pip just on them casually.
Yeah, stuff like Dust Chronicles and Fervent Investors for some extra burst, and Tropic Swirl as well. You got 31 expected ember.
Yeah,
and then
definitely you can see why.
Then your removal's real good with 2 full wipes in the disc and the key to Destiny Unlock Gateway, combined with a Life Ward for extra annoying nonsense.
Yeah, I mean the Life Ward key to this combo it's just a really good way of messing with your opponent's head, because it's the kind of thing where you look at it and you're like, okay, well, if I play creatures, he's going to key to dis them. If I don't play creatures, he's going to Life Ward and I can't play them. So I either have to just put them on the board to die, or I should just discard them, just because it's just a nightmare to play into. You're just like, ugh, this feels just terrible either way.
Yeah, you basically have problems all around. And then on top of that, you have a bunch of other disruptive discs, right? Where you have sort of double Binding Irons to slow your opponents down, double Cull the Weak to just knock stuff off the board, double Anguish to rack up that key cost in case you, say, have 4 cutthroat research and 3 Ronnie risk logs.
Yeah. It's an interesting one where, like, it's hard for your opponents to know what to do against this deck, because you want to go kind of high ember to get yourself out of range of that running risk clocks, kind of like knocking you off check repeatedly. But if you do, you become vulnerable to the cutthroat research. And it's also just very responsive. You know, you've got stuff like Dust Chronicles and Furtive Investors. So if your opponent gets ahead of you a bit, you can kind of like pull them back. Perplexing Sophistry as well means that, like, if they've just forced a key, you can really take a full advantage on a Shadow's turn by playing those kind of cards. It's an interesting deck. It really is.
So, what do you think you ban here?
Ooh, I mean, for me, if it's me, I ban the Quixel Stone deck because I'll be playing creature-based decks. But if I'm Shepelev, I can't think that I'm that bothered by that, though. Like, he's not playing particularly creature-heavy decks.
Yeah, the Russian language deck, you might have a problem with the Quixel Stone because you want to be playing Infernuses a lot. Brooklyn as well, you're looking to play Infernuses and Ronnie.
I might just be inclined to ban the Quixel Stone deck, not even because of the Quixel Stone, just because even the rest of the deck is just also gross.
Quite
but
annoying.
I think I'd go for a Choa, actually, just because as we like said, it's just got so much capability to just kind of like generate Ember out of nowhere. And Alex hasn't got the biggest Ember control, like in mass Ember control in his decks, I don't think.
Yeah, it's like lots of bits and bobs.
Yeah. Where if someone's just accelerating away from you, just generating ludicrous amounts of Ember with that kind of power, then you don't have a great response. So I think a Choa would be my choice. Let's look at Shepelev's decks.
I mean, I'm immediately drawn towards the Eaton's Jar deck if I'm Gorebelly here, because you have a lot of doubles and triples.
You do, yeah, especially if you're looking at that AOA deck, which has 4 Cutthroat Researchers and 3 Ronnie Risk Locks. Like, if that jar comes out early and says you can't use Ronnie Risk Locks, that deck just loses so much power as a result.
Yeah, and your artifact control's a flat 0 as well. So a Choa, you want the dab, but could get it Eaton's Jarred.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's if as well in a Choa you've got that two borrows, and while there's only 6 mutants in the Russian language deck, it's still going to benefit a lot from you just not having it. Is the big thing there. So I think I think
Yeah.
the Ancient Jar deck is definitely one I'd ban.
All right, let's find out, shall
Yeah,
we?
let's find out. So we will join you in the game portion of the episode shortly. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Hi there, welcome to Screech Bomb Commentaries. My name is, and we're here at the game portion of the episode. We have Gorebelly on top of the screen playing Maven, Ultra Ridge, Ochoa, and we have AlexShepelev on the bottom of the screen playing, what is this deck's name, Callum?
Well, let me tell you, because I looked it up for sure. Grumpy Stas Perova.
Grumpy Stars Perua. And Consul
Um,
Prime is coming down with 2 Ember Pips, a Pseudo Terror straight off the bat. Eclectic Inquiry by Shepelev, going to archive a couple of things. And Mind Over Matter discards it. Obviously, doesn't want to be sending that Consul Primus to the archives and get even more Ember off it.
Yeah, which is a problem because he essentially loses a big board clear pretty early.
He does
And also
indeed.
a potentially very useful one with the Saurians and the capture.
Definitely, yes. But here we go. Shepelev going to choose Shadows.
Yeah, and interestingly,
Borrows the Monument to Octavia.
Nice. The decks that were banned were Brooklyn and Rawlinson. So both Worlds Collide decks getting banned, which means here with Grumpy Stars, a rare example of an Eaton's Jar deck making the table.
We are seeing a Heist Knight discard and a Dark Wave being used to put a couple of damage on things. Gorebelly plays Lethal Logica. Entropic swirls his own Consul Primus, clearly wants to get rid of that Ember and get him a couple of Ember himself. I'm going to see Infomorph coming down with a Lycabot. Lethal Logica for Shepelev as well. In response, Neurosiphon into the hand, presumably going to play it. Steals and draws a card.
Interestingly, Gorebelly choosing to discard his Lethal Logica, Shepelev playing it.
Vision Bloom, going to double that Ember off of the Diametric Charge to put Shepelev onto 7. Kill the Ludo there, put a bit of damage elsewhere. Xenobot coming down as well as a Research Smoko.
Just real big Logos turns out of the gate here.
Yeah, and it captures onto that Research Smoko with a Quick So the Adventurer with an enhanced capture icon. Saurian, Cornus and Octavia draw icon on that. Spoils of Battle. Oof, going to capture onto the Smoko, but also going to get some onto that Octavia, knocking Shepelev off check. Also plays Forum of Giants.
Which, looking at the decks, he looks like he's going to have a reasonable chance of consistently going off every turn in his favor. Not many big creatures in Stars. In fact, they're all tiny. The Titan Engine is the only decent sized one.
Yeah, Quick So the Adventurer is going to fight the Cornus and Octavia, going to get a draw off of that. Presumably the Xenobot might finish it off if there's nothing else to do some damage. Discards the Bone Kniving with the Xenobot. We're going to reap with it instead. Vision Bloom resolving bonus cycles and additional time for whatever's played. Another Diametric Charge. Going to take out that Lycabot to put a bit more damage and is enough. Ooh, but nope, doesn't want to give Gorebelly that key, so doesn't fight the Cornus into death with the Smoko. Forum of Giants going to gain Gorebelly an Ember. Some fast-paced keyforce from both players here, not hanging around at all.
That's what we like to see.
No.
I want to be frantically talking, desperately trying to keep up.
Well, you don't do that though, Callum. I'm the one frantically talking, desperately trying to keep up. You just occasionally chime in with often fascinating points.
Yeah, no, it's real funny to see, so I wanted you to do that a bunch.
Fair enough. We're going to see Untamed. Discards the Savage Clash. Cephaloist gains an Ember, stops stealing from Shepelev. Pismire increases that key cost. May not be able to stop the key here, but paying 8 for Shepelev not going to be something he's thrilled about doing. So, Forum of Giants. The player who controls the most powerful creature, assuming both players have got a creature on the same power, does each player gain an Ember, or is it the player?
The active player will choose. So obviously, you can choose in your favor if necessary.
Okay, fair enough. Gorebelly having a bit of a think here.
Wonder what he's thinking about.
I don't know.
Uh,
Let's have a look at the untamed that he's got.
there's a Vault's Blessing that he could be considering.
I think that might be it. I mean, you have got 3 mutants on the board of Resurgence. Maybe we're thinking what to bring back with a Resurgence. Constant Primus, and that's all she wrote. Goes to check. Shepelev does force that key, but for 8 Ember.
Which, you know, this is reasonably, you're going to be reasonably happy for Gorebelly. Yeah, you lost the first key, and sort of the opening burst is going in your opponent's favor.
Oh, very glad to have got that Constant Primus out with the Infernus hitting the board. With that doubly enhanced Primus. Would have been very unhappy to see Infernus hit that.
Takes out Ludo and Spoils of Battle.
Yep.
Infernus again.
Second Infernus. And what are you going to hit on the second one?
Savage Clash. Lethal. Oh, it takes out Resurgence and Lethal Logica.
Sensible. Yeah. Does a bit of that Ember control. And Inspector 2. Forum Giants, though, is going to give Gorebelly another Ember. Really is, like you say, making the most of that Forum Giants. Another Cornus and Octavia hits the board. Consul Primus, double Ember from that. Citizen Shrix steals one. And Reaping with the Cornus and Octavia and going to 9 here. Shepelev going to go with Shadows. Presumably going to use that Monument to Octavia to capture one onto something.
The game at the moment feels like a bit of a race because Staz hasn't found the Eaton's Jar, and Gorebelly, playing Maven, has not found the Dark Ember Vault.
He's not. No, tempting offer, though. He's going to return that Cornus and Octavia to hand. Getting Shepelev a fair bit of Ember, but giving Gorebelly an Ember in return. Look at their deals. 2 damage to Cephalus, but obviously you're not going to do any stealing because of that Cephaloist. And can I capture one? Maybe onto an Infernus? Imp Spectre. But Former Giant's going to give Gorebelly another Ember here.
And that consistently paying off. He's already got 3 or 4 Ember, and it's going to keep going off pretty much most turns.
Yeah. And Gorebelly is going to forge his key here too. Logos from Gorebelly.
So still no Dav yet.
Maybe tempted
Bouncing
to
Death Quark could be very big.
Oh, that could be huge here, actually. Yeah, Reaps with the Infomorph. I think maybe that's what we're going to see. You know, taking out. I suppose the question is, what do you take out with it, though? I think like Xenobot and Quixo seem obvious targets. Smoko for the Ember. Maybe swap that, say, the Infomorph. Vision Bloom coming down first. I think Pismire you want to keep around. Citizen Shrix you want to keep around. Octavia you want to keep around.
Yeah, Consul Primus. Yeah, maybe the BDQ is not as devastating as you might think. You also got the Inspector, which you could hit, but then it's a big risk depending on what we got in your hand.
Yeah, I guess it does depend, though. It might be a question of where you're like, well, I've not really got stuff that I mind being purged in my hand. I've definitely had that before. I just hit an Inspector. It's been like, this seems like a good a time as any, where I've not got any key pieces. And we are going to see the Bouncing Death Block here.
Okay, so I was weighing that up, and we'll see what he takes off the board.
So Smoko first, and the Consul Primus going. So it's maybe think he's unlikely to play another Saurian turn anytime soon.
Also just has another Resurgence, so I might just want to bring it back again and play it.
Yeah, with the Infernus is gone. Yeah, it seems it would be strong. And because of that...
And he loses the Vault's Blessing. So BDQ just picked off all the mutants, and then Krazat wiped out the rest of it.
Yeah, but can't be happy seeing that Vault's Blessing go, because definitely... Well, but we have just seen all those mutants go, so maybe we won't be able to use it very well anyway. Gorebelly going to the second key. And on 3 Ember too. Not looking great for Shepelev here, who has been almost undefeated in this tournament thus far. Citizen Trick's going to steals an Ember, gains an Ember.
Yeah, huge amounts of Ember, so he's probably going to go and check for the third key here with the Forum.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting that you can steal one with a Technofiend if you're Shepelev, but with Gorebelly having that Forum of Giants, you need to get 1/1. Has to discard the Beware the Eyes and discard the Axiom of Grit. Obviously can't hit that Technofiend. Although I'd maybe be tempted to hit the Technofiend.
Or is the Fission Bloom?
Like, you get an Ember. Yeah, sure, you let Shepelev steal one, but, you know, like, it puts you functionally on check because you have to, like, he has to remove, he's going to get that Bone Eye and steal 2. And puts an Ember onto that Technofiend. Mugs the Technofiend.
Yeah, just generating huge amounts of Ember here.
13 Ember for Shepelev. This is looking pretty dicey for Gorebelly here.
Just huge swings either way in this game so far.
It definitely is, yeah. I'm going to see Untamed. There's a Dark
And he finds the Dav before he finds the Eaton's Jar.
And returns Pismire. Return Cephalus, place the Cephalus, can draw a card, gain an Ember off the Cephalus, going to play the Dark Fairy, draws and gains an Ember. Pismire draws a card. Gloria's Attendant draws 2 cards. Gloria's Attendant draws another 2 cards. Xenobeast draws a card. I
Oh
can
my
barely even
god.
keep up with it. Jesus. Resurgence.
But he's not made it to check.
No, but he is making Shepelev's keys cost 8 here, which is significant.
Due to huge amounts of mutants suddenly out of nowhere.
Yes. And the question here... No, we've
haven't seen the gateway, so there it is.
Yeah, and stealing
one.
one.
With the Techno Fiend.
And obviously that Forum Giants can't go off now either for Gorebelly.
Nope.
And Eaton's Jar.
Ooh, can he just lock him out of any Ember control?
I don't know.
Does he have any left?
We've seen Spoils of Battle gone.
Yeah, Spoils of Battle went.
Is there anything else here? Prevents City State Interest being played, which would be a big one. Snarette gonna capture one as well. Oh.
Also, Stir Engraved to archive the bow.
Gonna put damage on something.
Oh, it's close. That might be it.
Gorebelly here, Forum of Giants,
and you have
an Ember. Give Shepelev an Ember,
one.
yeah. Oh.
Double-sided.
Worst time possible. I think that CSI might have been, getting that CSI with the Eaton's Jar might be the kicker here.
Because we have not seen it.
No, and we have seen the Sports of Battle has been purged as well.
So a Shrix and a Thero maybe, but I don't think he's gonna make it.
I don't think that's enough because that would only take 2, and he needs to take 3. And Monument to Octavia being taken so early as well, really damaging here too. Could have been great.
Has to take 4 as well because of the safe place.
Of course, yes. I didn't even think about the safe place. This might be, unfortunately, it. Struggling to see any way. Gorebelly can place it in tricks though. Dark Ember Vault. There, Centurion captures another. Needs to capture 2 more. Remove 2 more from Shepelev here. And a well play from Gorebelly. Unfortunately, discards the CSI.
Yeah, there it is.
Axiom. Rough.
The Eaton's Jar showing up late, but doing its job.
Yeah, and that Dark Ember Vault showing up late as well. I think if we'd seen Gorebelly get that a little bit earlier, I think this game might have gone very differently.
Yeah, I mean, there's 12 mutants in Maven, and just that one Untamed turn showed what that could look like. Because the Untamed outdraws the Logos.
It does, but yeah, we'll
because
see
you've got so many you have so many mutants, and they almost all have draw enhancement on them.
You do indeed. Well, we'll see you in the second game now. Okay, welcome to the second game of the episode. Once again, we have Gorebelly on top of the screen, and he is once again playing Maven Ultra Ridge Ochoa, whereas we have Shepelev on the bottom of the screen playing Donovan of Juret's Tread Haunt.
So Gorebelly a sticker, not a switcher.
And then there's 4 routine jobs you see before you.
Yeah, so Cephalus could be real big.
Yeah, it definitely could be. Prescriptive Grammar Bot coming down with a Fission Bloom. Not the best opening turn from Gorebelly, but, you know, nice to get Fission Bloom out early. Phase Shift into the Screaming Cave as well, and Positron Bolt to knock out that Grammar Bot.
Not sure on this deck how much you actually do want to Screaming Cave with the 4 routine jobs.
No, unlikely. I guess you maybe use it a bit to try and find the routine jobs, and once you find a couple, you kind of stop using it. But yeah, we're going to see a big Untamed turn here. A few mutants coming on down. But you can get to stick with the Vault's Blessing coming around the twist. That could be pretty big for Mr. Shepelev. For Mr. Gorebelly, I apologize. Pit Demon is going to fight that Fandangle, though. Going to be like, no, sir. Not in my town. Logos from Gorebelly. Kerzap. And plays to Karato Munchling.
Yeah, and the 12 mutants in Gorebelly's deck are just so much better when your opponent has none.
Yes, exactly.
Stuff like the Vault's Blessing. Oh, no.
Oh, that's not what you want to see.
Just costs himself an Ember and gives himself a chain.
Yep.
Shepelev acting unconcerned, but I can't be happy with that.
Can't be happy, but I guess you'd rather hit it now than say when you're on like 6 or 7 Ember. There are worse times for that to hit you.
There are, yes.
But yeah, we are going to see Untamed here. And with that Toronto down, if he reaps with that Pismire and that Xenobot, he's going to draw a card. Glorian's Attendant, though, going to draw one anyway. Because why not? but still not
Uh,
seeing that Volt's Blessing early on, which you've got to hope
uh,
for.
he's
You're
gonna
going to fight
fight
the
and go
Titan
looking for
mechanic.
it.
Yeah, but I suppose look at the top two cards of your deck. You're always going to be happy to do that. And especially with knowing you can draw, know you can kind of like organize those to know which one you're going to draw
Yeah,
next as well.
just so much efficiency.
Plays the Resurgence, returns the Fandangle, and Prescriptive Grammar Bot 2 plays that Fandangle. Pismire to reap and draw a card, and ends the turn there. Dis.
So
Plays the
does have a
Shula.
gate. Does have a gateway. Does have control of the weak. So some potential responses in Donovan to this board.
We do indeed, yeah.
It's just
Dominator
gonna.
Gorbel, use the Titan mechanic. I seem to fights the Tarata rather than Fandangle this time. That's the Fandangle to live.
Yeah, I think correct with 5 other mutants on the board.
Yeah, for sure. But Gorbelly looking in a stronger position in this game than I think he was in the previous year. Kind of like has a bit more of a
Definitely
foothold early on.
2/3 of the creatures in Gorebelly's deck are mutants. It's 12 out of 18.
It's pretty nice. And Citizen Shrix gonna come down, steal one, Cornus and Octavia, Perfectus Ludo, Monument to Octavia, capture one. Say maybe on a Xenobeast I'd put it on. Or on the Octavia itself? Yeah, on the Octavia.
Yeah, and the artifact control is there in Donovan, but it's a poltergeist and a neutron shark. So I think much less problematic than Borrow.
Yes, definitely so. And I think that's why Borrow is such a brutal card, because it's not so much that it's taking your artifacts away, and it's just making sure that unless you have artifact control, you're never getting them back either. We do see that Citizen Tricks being fought by the Toxin and the Fandangle being fought by the Shula.
I think a fight from a toxin is a bad sign for you in the game so far.
Definitely, yeah.
Not saying it's not correct, but it's a sign that things are not going your way.
And Lethal here, going to discard a Savage Class and a Dark Fairy, get a bouncing Death Quark. Not something that Gorbelly needs right now, but definitely something happy just to have in hand, potentially, and be holding over AlexShepelev. And Munchling going to fight Shield. Oh, discards the bouncing Death Quark with a Munchling, just goes to the Ember instead.
Interestingly, we did see a Screaming Cave, so I think just is looking for the board wipe.
Yeah. And Twin Bot Emission. 2 damage to Laura's Attendant and Perfectus Ludo plays the Mother. Going for the card draw, discards a Titan Mechanic.
Can't play it, can't give him the key.
No, and sorry, but where the Eyes takes out that Mother immediately.
23 damage.
Yeah, Cornus Octavia reaps, Consul Primus for a couple of Emma, goes to 10, does Gorbelly Forum of Giants.
And there's just no big Ember responses in Donovan. It's all routine jobs, which obviously is very effective most of the time, but doesn't make a difference. It's whether you're on 6 or 11.
Yeah, and discards the Axiomic Risk, definitely sensible. Not going to be needing that anytime soon.
Looking like a rough spot here for Shepelev.
Yeah, it definitely is here. I mean, if he's got that, if he's got the gateway to Dis now, it could be very good. But even then, maybe the damage is reducing the gateway. The damage already been done here. You know, you're losing that Ember. You've got so many things down from Gorbelly. You are going to get a benefit from that Forum of Giants now by playing whatever, but
you're on 0 Ember and your opponent's forging what first key with 5 remaining.
Yep, and does play that Untamed. Has he drawn round to that Dark Ember Ball yet? Not yet. So again, buried quite low in the deck, it seems, for Gorbelly. And plays a Resurgence is going to bring back a Dark Fairy. And maybe that Consul Primus with those 2 Ember? Nope, returns Fandangle.
Just trying to make it stick.
Cephalowist big here. Makes it much harder to use.
So the Volt's Blessing hits
12. And those routine jobs, it's going to be difficult to get rid of that Cephalowist. You know, you've got a Relentless Whispers, you've got a Poison Wave, you've got a Pawn Sacrifice. You're going to need at least 2 of those, though.
Yeah, so you need those and some routine jobs. It's going Logos, so it's not there.
No, but Effervescent Principle has redrawn it.
That's a huge draw because whilst he's going to get the key, obviously that is 6 full Ember that went away there.
But I think your Gorbelly is going to keep powering through here. You know, you've hopefully got that Dark Ember Bot coming around soon. You've got Cephalus on the board, hard to remove. Going to go Saurian though. Cornus and Octavia draws a card.
Keep trying to crush people with Mutant Rush.
Yep, Theros Centurion to capture an Ember. Spoils a battle, capture even more from Shepelev. Just put him on no Ember. Really,
So after 9 turns, Shepelev is on 0 keys and 0
there's
ember.
Poison Wave gets rid of that Cephalowist. Ghostly Hand gets a couple of ember for him, but no routine jobs we've seen yet.
No, we haven't. But the Shadow Self is going to give him an ember from the Forum of Giants.
That's very true, very true. Vision Bloom coming on. Eclectical Inquiry, gonna get 2 from that. Mutagenic Serum coming down as well. Infomorph.
And the Fandangle lives.
Fandangle lives and is gonna allow the Infomorph to presumably reap, unless he really wants to fight this Shadow Self. Plays the Entropic Swirl, just puts 2 damage on the Shadow Self.
Goes to check.
And
that's the
Shepelev with the
concession.
concession.
Just
Brutalized.
can't bring it back. Yeah, just run over by the number of mutants in Maven, combined with stuff like Terato and Fandangle and Cephalowist, is just too much.
Yeah.
I just could not find the required answers in Donovan.
Definitely could not. And we're now going to be going to game 3. We'll see you there. Okay, welcome to the third and final game, where we have Gudrun Zenith Ladorabile, played by Gorebelly on top. And yes, you are not to deceive you, that is 4 cutthroat researchers facing off against 4 routine jobs, as we see AlexShepelev playing Donovan of Juret's Tread Haunt on the bottom of your screen. Dust Chronicles opening from Gorebelly.
And I would be instinctively to put this towards a better match for Donovan, because Gudrun is going to excel in games where your opponent needs a board you can crush a lot, and Donovan just does not at all.
No. We only see Positron Bolt, just damaging his own Shepelev, and he's going to discard the Offensive Principle, saying, no, not this time. I will not both wormhole the Offensive Principle. But Gorebelly, how is he going to respond to this? Goes logos. Backup copy onto the Titan Mechanic, and then Entropic swirls it. And puts it on top of his deck. Very nice. Cutthroat Research Sloppy Lab work. Gets himself to 6.
Discards the Swindle.
Yeah, I think that's sensible. Like, Swindle is a good card, don't get me wrong, but it's a card that is useful in like quite specific circumstances a lot of the time. And like early game, it tends to be a lot worse, because early game is when you really can't afford to be dropping a turn. Later game, when kind of things are a bit more down to the wire and you know what your opponent's got left, you can play Swindle with a lot more surety that it's the right play.
Shepelev gets a bit of breathing room. Gorebelly does not go to check this turn.
No, but does play some nasty creatures in Anguish and Streak, and just gets rid of that Misery Exploit. You're going to see a Twin War Mission though to get rid of that Streak, and we're going to see a Titan Mechanic and a Ganymede Archivist put on the board. Shadows for Gorebelly.
All right, will we see one of the 3 Ronnies?
Let's find out. We're going to see Perplexing Trough discarded Dustin for Shepelev. That's a good one to get rid of.
I think that's a good hit in what is looking just like it's going to be a race.
Furtive Investors, nice one. Just get a bit of Ember off of that. Nerve Blast onto the Ganymede Archivist, and that's all she wrote. Gorebelly sticking on 8. Will Shepelev have the twist to take him off? And Shepelev going for Dis.
Not really the Ember Control house.
Having a Flame Wreathed on Ganymede Archivist. Going to reap with the Ganymede Archivist. Archive something. We know not what. And Shula's putting himself on check, but can't stop Gorebelly as he draws First Blood and gets his key.
And I think you're feeling pretty good with your Gorebelly, because you've got the first key. You haven't really seen any of the Ronnies yet.
We are going to see Disc definitely just fight that Anguish into, say, a Shula, which he does, make Shepelev's keys cost 10. Cull the Weak to destroy the Ganymede Archivist, play another Anguish, discards a key to Dis.
Doesn't want it to be poltergeisted, which I think is very reasonable, especially as you don't think Donovan's going to care about board.
No, Relentless Whispers, though, is going to take out that Anguish and steal one for Shepelev. Discards the Bad Penny. And maybe this is where we start to see some of those Ronnies coming down. Ember with a Yancey gang would be a good time for it to happen for Gorebelly. He's going to put that Shadow Self next to the Titan Mechanic, though.
Chooses to discard the Ghostly Hand.
And plays a Ronnie Wristlocks. Steals 2.
I guess just wanted to limit the amount of stealing that can go on.
Yeah. Plays another Ronnie Wristlocks, knocks him off the check.
But it does mean that It's interesting. Would have got the key there, but his opponent would have stolen an extra one. So I don't know.
And we're going to see Dis from AlexShepelev. Control the weak. Presumably going to get into shadows again here. Plays a Toxin. And of course, leaving that left side open on that tight mechanic. And going to Poltergeist, use the Dominator Bauble. Use the tight mechanic, maybe fights. And yep, fights the Yancey gang there too. Very nice play. But Gorebelly is going to get second key. For only
4-5 as
Ember,
well.
yeah.
But it is worth noting we have seen no routine jobs so far, and I think there's probably one tucked away in the archive.
Gotta think so, yeah. And this is the thing. This is where like Shepelev's deck can really just accelerate out of trouble by just repeatedly playing those routine jobs, stealing, 2, 3, 4 Ember at points.
Yeah, because you've got to remember, it's like there's 4 cards, it's 10 Ember worth of steel. So if you're Gorebelly, you've got to generate 16 more Ember probably to forge.
Yeah.
The key, which that deck can do, obviously, but you've got to do it before you lose.
Yeah, definitely. I think the big thing here for Shepelev is, though, that he does get another steal from Ronnie, but doesn't stop this forward, so Shepelev's going to forward. The thing with Shepelev, though, is he can't go to 2 higher levels of Ember, though, because you have the Cutthroat Researchers knocking around.
Yeah, so you kind of, you don't want to risk that too much.
No, it's a delicate balance, and discards the Unlock Gateway for Gorebelly. I don't think he'd be too upset about that, really.
So steals 1 with the Pit Demon to keep him off check.
Yeah.
Tight mechanics sticking around.
Yeah. This is looking good for Gorebelly, I'd say. We haven't seen any routine jobs, though. At all. I don't think. Let me just check the discard. No, none in the discard. You've got to think that Shepelev has at least 1, maybe 2 in hand, but could be as many as 3 or 4.
I mean, you just got to go for it. You've got to try and generate as much Ember as possible to try and put yourself out of routine job range.
Yeah.
And also then hope if he hits you with multiple routine jobs, you have your Cutthroat Researchers ready to go.
Plays the Cutthroat Researchers, just goes to 6.
Very slim turn.
But Logos from AlexShepelev.
Picks up the archives. It was a Logos card archived, presumably library access. There we go.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a colossal amounts of draw, I assume, given I don't think we've seen much.
You see Doc Buckton. I assume phase shift into a have you seen phase shift yet? We've not seen phase shift yet. So I think phase shift into a routine job could be on the horizon. As we have seen something next, that Titan mechanic now, to make that more effective. And Twin Bottle Mission kills Philo Researcher and a Ronnie Wristlocks. Neutron Shark. And draws a card with the shark. And discards the phase shift.
Oh, that's rough. That's gotta hurt. Is that game losingly bad?
That could be. I don't know. That is, the GG from Shepelev in the concession.
Oh, that's huge.
Risky. Needed the phase shift to hit, presumably the routine job. I guess
just took a gamble.
Had he just not drawn any routine jobs then? He didn't draw any routine jobs in that hole.
Oh, that is ridiculous.
That's insane.
That is RNG.
Over both games.
Nightmare. Oh,
AlexShepelev, the undefeated man of the Eastern Group.
Essentially, I don't want to fully say defeated by poor draws, but certainly faced an uphill struggle against RNGesus today.
Indeed he did. Didn't get a single routine job. 3 cards left in the deck there.
Oh dear. And Gorebelly giving himself a chance to make the playoffs here.
Yeah, Gorebelly with the win, coming back from behind there.
Yep, just edging ahead of Anxious Pirate. Damn.
What an ending.
That was really interesting because we saw like 3 quite quick games that mostly weren't about board, and you can compare it to a lot of the tries we've seen where there's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of like big using of creatures. Because both of the Worlds Collide decks got banned, we had a sort of almost completely different style of set of games.
Yeah, this has been fascinating. This isn't. I think we like this some really unique key forge we commentated today. But yeah, just that that final game just out of nowhere for.
Yeah, we just assumed that he had it because he just had it. We just thought he was waiting and biding his time to play the routine jobs.
Yeah, but in fact, it was just
Yeah,
what
and
must be some of the least fortunate draw. All
the
routine jobs.
the 31 expected Ember in Gudrun, bringing it home.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and also like those running wrist knots coming at the right time too were really powerful. As you know, some really
Yeah,
excellent play from Gorebelly too, like playing around those outs sort of thing. I think even like if we had seen the routine jobs, he was like playing around it really well, making sure he was making the most of it. But yeah, incredible game of Keyforge here today.
Just hits the neutron shot, the phase shift off the neutron shot.
Yeah, I assume that must have been the last Logos card that Shepelev had in hand, because I can't think you would play the Neutron Shark unless you like know, unless it's your last resort.
It absolutely was. There's no other Logos cards. Actually, maybe one.
But it must have still been in the draw
3,
pile.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, towards the end, certainly.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for watching. We have been Screech Bomb Commentaries. I've been David, Baron von Fabulous Lark.
I am out of breath having watched 3 Keyforge games in like, I don't know, 20 minutes or something. I've been Callum, the good Dr. Young.
We've been Team Screech Bomb Commentaries. Thank you ever so much for listening. We hope to see you again soon. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.